I'm your host, Eric Herrera, and I'm a 5392. To some of you, that probably means something. To others of you, that may not mean anything. That's okay. We're going to briefly touch on what is Kolbe, but honestly, if you want to learn more about Kolbe and your results, first thing is go take your Kolbe A. Go to Kolbe.com, click that purple button in the upper right-hand corner, and take your Kolbe A index. Then the next thing to do to really go deep into your results is take the Activate Your A discovery course. That's going to go through very, very clearly, mode by mode, colorful bar by colorful bar. What are we measuring? How are you going to be taking action, and what your specific numbers mean? So I'm Eric. I'm our VP of Sales, and I'm one of our master consultants. So what I can tell you about my Kolbe result is I'm super interruptible. I have a plan, and I know generally what we're going to talk about today. But if we need to veer off course a little bit, I'm totally okay with that because I am really, really flexible. When you all signed up for this, we asked you a couple of questions, things like, what do you want to learn about? What are you interested in? And so based on your results, we created an agenda for today. So we're going to start with the Kolbe difference because a number of you had questions such as, hey, how is Kolbe different than fill in the blank with some other assessment? So we're definitely going to answer that question for you. Then you wanted to know a little bit more about, right, how do you use Kolbe inside of your business or with your clients? And so, yes, we're definitely going to tackle that. A couple of you had questions about how do I get certified? What does the process look like? Yes, we're going to tackle that towards the end. And then we're also going to talk about next steps. Where do you go from here? So before we really jump in and get started, I want to know a little bit more about why you're here and some of the challenges that you're currently facing. So we're going to pop open a poll, and what we'd like to know is what people-related challenge is your top priority right now? Obviously, you have a bunch of options, so that poll should pop open for you. Make sure you click, what that biggest challenge is that you're facing right now. Because what I'm going to do is, based on your answers, I'm going to tweak the content just a little bit so we can focus a little bit more on that. Looks like it's a pretty even split here. We got folks all across the board with things that they're interested in. There we go. All right. So as you can see, it's pretty evenly spread. On the lowest end was hiring and recruiting, so we won't touch on that very much. All of the above, I believe, was the winner. So we're going to tackle all of those other things. All right. How do you be more productive? How do you use Kolbe as a part of leadership development, collaboration in teams, all of those things. So perfect. And as you started to think about your top people challenge that you're focused on right now, you probably started to feel a little bit of weight on your shoulders, or you started to feel that, crick in the back of your neck or something like that, because the people part of the business is the hardest part. But it's also, that's the secret sauce. Every business that we work with, and that's, 20,000+ of them, the magic that happens inside of that business is the people. But again, it's very, very challenging to manage the folks inside of that. And so we understand some of that pain, and that's absolutely what we do. Is we're here to help you with that. And that's really been our mission since we started back in 1975, is to help you understand your natural strengths and use them in a way that's important to you. Obviously, with those options I just gave you, we were more focused on the business context, right? Leadership development, hiring, teams, those types of things. But because we're talking about people, this stuff works in your personal life as well, right? If you have a child who's struggling in school and you really want to help them, we can help with that. If you want to figure out, hey, how do I communicate more effectively with my spouse? We can help you with that as well. But in our session today, we're going to mostly focus on the business applications. Just know we absolutely can help on the personal side as well. So how do we do that? How do we help businesses every single day understand their strengths and use it in a way that's important to them? Pretty simple. We created this 4-step process, and we've tested this with companies that have 4, 5, 6 people, and we've tested this with companies that have 4, 5, 600,000 people, and everywhere in between. And so the great news is If you're sitting here and you work inside of a company with 1,000 people, 500 people, this is how you integrate Kolbe into your business. If you're an independent consultant and you work with clients and you're trying to figure out, how do I use Kolbe with my clients? This is the process for how you do that. And again, we've tested this with tons and tons of clients, and we figured out this is the most effective way to roll Kolbe out. So I'm going to dive deeper into exactly how this works later on, but I just want to kind of give you the framework to show you how simple it is to apply Kolbe inside of your business. However, something that is not simple is figuring out people, right? People are really, really challenging to figure out. And so this is a quote by Albert Einstein, and I'm going to summarize, but essentially what he's saying is, right, using equations and figuring out math is easy. Figuring out people is really, really hard. And Albert Einstein was a theoretical physicist. I'm not going to pretend like I know what a theoretical physicist actually does, but I know you have to be crazy smart to be one, right? And he was literally one of the smartest people that's ever lived. And even he thought figuring out people was challenging. And so, right, we're trying to simplify it as much as possible, but just know there are tons of factors that go into making all of us who we are. And that's what makes us all unique. And so if we try to simplify it a little bit, we can throw the strengths that all of us have into 3 buckets. The ancient Greeks called it the 3 parts of the mind, and we have all of these parts. The first is the thinking or the cognitive part, stuff that's in our head. Then we have the feeling or the affective part, that's the stuff in our heart. Then we have the conative or the doing part, how we get stuff done. For every one of us on this call, every person in the world, we're at our best where those 3 intersect, where we get to use all of those various strengths that we have in our day-to-day life, in our job, with our families, those types of things. So again, there's lots of stuff that go into making all of us who we are, but I want to clarify these 3 different parts of the mind for you a little bit. Because what we found is all of us have taken assessments in at least 2 of these. The first is the cognitive part. That's the stuff that we know, the stuff in our head. If you're in the financial services world, you probably took something like the Series 7 or the 6 or the 63, right? If you got into college here in the States, you probably had to take the ACT or the SAT. I remember when I was a kid, I had to take those Scantron fill in the bubble tests, and every time I tried to erase it, never worked, and I got that question wrong, right? Or maybe you've done something like the Wonderlic. So if you're not familiar with the Wonderlic, it's a short form intelligence test. Its claim to fame is it's used as a part of the NFL draft. Very simply, the NFL is trying to figure out, as these young men are coming out of college, how quickly can they learn our playbook and then go and execute on the field. The Wonderlic was actually created back in World War II by our founder, Kathy Kolbe's dad, E.F. Wonderlic. So during World War II, they're drafting all these young men into the war effort, and they're trying to figure out who should go fly planes, who should be an intelligence officer, who should go in the infantry, and all the various jobs that they had. Kathy's dad created that test, and Kathy, as a young girl, was literally hand-scoring Wonderlics. So really, the genesis of Kolbe goes way back then into World War II, when Kathy was working with her dad on the Wonderlic. But again, this is all stuff that's in the cognitive part of our mind, stuff that we know, and all of us have taken some version of a cognitive assessment. Then there's that next part of our mind, that next bucket of strengths that we all have, the affective part, right? Inside of affect, personality lives there. Motivation and values live in affect. And most, if not all of us, have done some version of an affective assessment, right? If you did something like predictive index, culture, or DISC, you probably figured out, hey, I'm more of an extrovert, or I'm more of an introvert, or I'm a really steady, stable, patient person, or I'm a very impatient person. If you took something like, let's say, StrengthsFinder, right, you figured out what gets you going. As an example for me, my number 1 strength in StrengthsFinder is competition. So anytime I'm going to do something, my mind immediately goes to, how am I going to win, or how am I going to beat that other person? And that's important, right? We need to know how to motivate folks. That's what's great about understanding the affective part of our mind. But as I mentioned, right, there's 3 parts of the mind. There's the cognitive, the thinking, and then we have the affective or the feeling part. There's this 3rd part of the mind, and what we found is most people aren't really aware of it. And we're not aware of it because we've been doing it. When Toby was little Toby running around on the playground in New Mexico, he was doing stuff in a particular way. Now that Toby's grown up Toby, he's still doing stuff in a particular way. And when you're old Toby, you're going to do stuff in the same way as you continue to age and right and you retire and those types of things. That's actually what we're measuring with Kolbe, is the conative part of the mind. How do you problem solve, or how do you get stuff done? What we know about the conative part of the mind is it kicks in when you're striving, when you need to get stuff done. So if you're randomly hanging out on a Sunday afternoon watching a football game, you're probably not striving. But if your coworker comes to you and says, hey, I need help with this, now you're striving. That's when the conative part of the mind kicks in. What we measure with Kolbe is how you take action. And that's very unique, and that's different from the other assessments that I mentioned earlier. So if you already use one of those in your business or with your clients, great, keep using it. And now just add Kolbe to the mix, because that's going to increase the likelihood of success for you and the people that you work with. All right, so kind of leads us to, how do we apply Kolbe in our business? And there's a number of different ways that you can do this. And I'm going to give you some real life examples of how some of our consultants have done this. The first is Mary. So Mary's been certified with Kolbe for over 30 years. She lives up in Michigan. She works with really, really big corporations. She has a couple of really big food companies that you have definitely had some of their delicious treats at some point in your life. And so what Mary does is she works with the entire company. She maps out what every single job in that division or that location looks like. She works with every single leader and she shows them how to coach their employees. She helps them hire and bring people on successfully into that organization. And she is an external consultant. She has her own business. She then works with some of those very large clients. So that's one way you can apply Kolbe into your business. Then we have Hillary. So Hillary is actually also in Michigan, but she works with a property management company that has locations all across the country. Some in Michigan, some in Florida, some in Texas, some in Arizona, and definitely some other states as well. All of the stuff that I just mentioned that Mary does, Hillary does that as well, but Hillary's their CHRO, right? So she's incorporating Kolbe into every part of their people processes. As they're hiring new employees, she's matching those candidates to make sure that they're in the right job. She's helping those leaders coach those new employees and onboard them effectively. They have a book club where they share things about their conative strengths with the entire team to all get everyone on the same page. And they build ad hoc project teams based on Kolbe results. Again, Hillary is doing that as an internal person, as a member of a large organization. Some of you may be coaches. So we have Kari. Kari works with entrepreneurs in the financial advisory world. So a lot of times she starts with the advisor, and this advisor may have a 5-person team, 10-person team, generally not more than a 20-person team, because they have a small office located in Little Rock, Arkansas, or Dallas, Texas, or wherever, right? And so she starts by coaching one-on-one with an entrepreneur and gets them to unleash the talents that they have locked inside of them, right? Really use their conative strengths. Once an entrepreneur is now doing that, she then works with the rest of their team to help them lean into their strengths, work more effectively as a team, and become more productive to get even more out of that 5, 10, or 15-person team. And some of you on the call, you may be recruiters, right? And you're trying to figure out, how do I use this to increase the likelihood of success when I make a placement? So Samir is one of our certified consultants. He's based in the Chicagoland area, and he focuses on executive level hires. So if you're a chief something or a vice president of something, that's when you call Samir in, or when you need to find one of those folks, that's when you go and call Samir. And so Samir uses our hiring tool, RightFit, to build a model for a job and then figure out, does the candidate fit to that role? But he goes even deeper. He uses some of our advanced team reports to also look and say, all right, if we add this person to this executive team, how does that affect the team dynamics? How are they all going to work together? Are they going to get stuck more often? Are they actually different enough that it's actually going to unleash the power of the team? And so he has created a really amazing system that's drastically increased the success of those folks that he's placed. So the point here is, regardless of your application, whether you're an external consultant, someone working inside of a business, a coach, a recruiter, you could even be a love coach. We have some of those folks as well. There are absolutely ways to apply Kolbe into your business. And because we've worked with all of these different business models, we've been able to fine tune and figure out what works most effectively. And so we've created a handy guide for you to help you launch your practice, to help you be successful from the start as soon as you get out of certification. We've created the Kolbe Certified Consultant Handbook. It's, I don't know, 55, 60 pages, somewhere in there. It includes learning materials, right? So you can continue to sharpen your skills. It includes things like, Toby and his team have put together ways to attract new clients, find more people that want to talk to you if you're an external consultant. Helps you figure out who would you be most effective at helping, or it even helps you put together packages. For those of you that are internal, it has things built in there such as, what does it look like when you're helping someone with an annual review and you're incorporating Kolbe into it? We have worksheets for that. We have worksheets for how you do one-on-one coaching. All of that is included in the Certified Consultant Handbook. So now you're starting to see some of the resources you're going to have available to you, and you're starting to think like, all right, I want to now go out and I want to tell the world about Kolbe. You're starting to think like, all right, when I get out of certification, what's it going to look like? So I wish I could tell you that at Kolbe, we had the same brand recognition as Tesla or Harley Davidson or Coca-Cola. We don't, right? Toby and his team are working on it, and we're definitely moving in that direction, but we're not as well known as some of those brands yet. That's okay. But what that means is you're going to get asked questions. What the heck is Kolbe? What can it do for me? That's all right. It's not unique, and we definitely know how to answer that question. So here's something that you can start to promise folks as a consultant about Kolbe. We can promise them valuable, actionable insight. And I'm speaking from firsthand experience with this. I go out and work with senior leadership teams. I work with CEOs on a consistent basis. Probably every couple of weeks, I'm on the road somewhere working with one of those teams. And every time I do that, I give them valuable, actionable insight. Part of how I do that is we're the only conative assessment. We're the only ones that measure what we do. So we're not just another personality assessment, right? We're looking at a different part of the person. The next thing is immediately actionable advice. So when I go out and I work with those teams or I work with those CEOs, the most fulfilling part of my job is when I get back and then they call me or they send me an email and say, hey, Eric, I tried that stuff and it totally worked. Thank you. Right? That's when I get a giant smile on my face because I know I'm having an impact in their business. And that's the stuff that you'll be able to do as well as a certified consultant. And then it's a complete solution. Right at the beginning of this webinar, we asked you about a bunch of different topics. The reason we asked you about those and some of your people challenges is we have solutions for all of those, whether it's our various indexes, our reports, our software options. We've created a solution that can tackle all of the people challenges that you, your coworkers, or your clients are faced with. All right, so that's how you can start to describe and tell people what the heck is Kolbe all about and what's it going to do for me. Generally, the next question is, okay, great, but let's get a little bit more tactical. Really look like. Going back to that simple 4-step process I showed you earlier. So we always want to start in that upper right-hand corner called identify. Very simply, I need to know what strengths you have because then there's lots of stuff I can do. I can coach you, I can mentor you, I can put you on a team with other folks. But step one is I need to know what strengths you have. So you need people to take the Kolbe A. That's where you start, right? If I'm going to work with Toby and help him, I need to know that he's a 7.464 because the advice that I would give Toby as a 7.464 is wildly different than the advice I would give myself as a 5.392. So first we got to identify strengths. Then we move to that next step, which is optimize. Optimize is all about working with other people. We all have to work with other people. Maybe we're leaders, we have to work with our team. Maybe we're members of a team, we have to work with other folks. Maybe we work with vendors or clients. We all have to work with others. And so optimize is all about getting us to lean on each other's strengths to create that 2 + 2 = 5 effect. Once we've done that, then we move over to the other side. We move to align. What I know about every single person on this webinar is you're your best self when you can just show up and be you, right? If you just show up and do things the way that you naturally would, you're going to be amazing. You're going to get fantastic results. You're not going to be stressed, and it's going to feel like you're in the zone. But that doesn't happen very often. And so we have assessments to actually measure that, where we say, all right, here's the person. What does their job look like? And rarely are they identical. Quite often, they're off center a little bit, right? Or sometimes they're a complete 180. That's okay. That's someone who needs our help. And through our indexes and our reports, we can absolutely help that person close that gap so they can lean into those talents. And then you have that final step, expand. Expand is all about bringing new members onto the team. And so what we want to do is, as we're hiring somebody new, we want to set them up for success from day one. We want to put them in a job where they can just show up and be them. And so if we take organizations through this entire process, that's where we now start to see that amazing performance from everyone on the team, because they're all in the zone, in flow state, however you want to think about it. So, like I said, I know a number of you had questions about, how do I use Kolbe in my business? That's how you use Kolbe in your business. Now you're starting to think to yourself, all right, I see how I can use it. What does a successful Kolbe consultant actually look like, right? What are some of the characteristics of them? We have about, 875 of them around the world. So we've been able to figure out some commonality among them. So your path to success to becoming a certified consultant starts with identifying, right, who really thrives as a consultant. If you're an established coach and consultant, and what you get joy from is seeing and improving individual and team results, that's someone who thrives as a Kolbe consultant, right? If you love working with folks and watching them thrive and get better, you're going to be a great Kolbe certified consultant. Here's some other things that we've identified as well from some of our most successful consultants. They're focused on growth and excellence for themselves, right? They're constantly getting better, learning more, trying to figure out, how do I get that 1% better every single day? And then they, in turn, help their clients do that. They're driven to make a difference in people's lives, right? If you can go in, work with a company, work with a colleague, and reduce some of that stress, relieve some of that pain that that weight that they're feeling on their shoulders, you're having a big impact in their life. That's important. If you love doing that stuff, you'll be a great consultant. You got to be solutions oriented, right? People are way too complicated to say 1 + 1 = 2, right? Sometimes we got to go under, around, and through obstacles to find the right solution. If you can do that, you'll do great at this. And they're also connected with their clients and the Kolbe community. Again, we have 875 approximately consultants around the world. We share best practices with each other. If we have questions, we actually have an online network where you can throw those questions in, and your peers are going to help you solve it or help you come up with ideas. And so staying connected helps you continue to get better as well. All right, so that's who thrives as a consultant, but I always want you to keep this in mind. There is a path to success, and I think our founder, Kathy, actually, put it as eloquently as possible. Kathy's definition of success is the freedom to be yourself. So that is your path to success. Be yourself. Whatever you are, however your strengths come out, do more of that. That's how you're going to be amazing. And so that really is a mantra for us here at Kolbe, is have the freedom to be yourself. And so as you think about some of the benefits of being a Kolbe certified consultant, that's actually one of the first, is we give you business model freedom. It doesn't matter if you have a retainer model, an hourly model, you're an internal consultant, you're an executive coach, you're everywhere in between. That's okay. We know how to fit your existing model into what we do. And you actually are going to be partnered with somebody on our team that's going to help you figure that out. So you don't have to change everything. We're going to help you integrate Kolbe into it. And we're not going to tell you have to charge this or specific pricing, things like that. Go with what's already working for you. We're just going to add to it or supercharge it. We have some unique assessments and reports that others in the industry don't have. As I mentioned, we measure something that no one else is measuring. Tons of sales and marketing resources for those of you that are external, right? You need to get more clients. You got to get more people that you're talking to. Toby and his team have created a ton of stuff for you. And we've also created some stuff to help you get through that sales process. Exclusive product pricing for our certified consultants. Proven solutions. I walked you through that 4-step process. We test that at Kolbe all of the time. And so we know that that's what works. And as we find stuff that's a little bit better, we roll that out to you. Networking and mentorship, right? So you have the ability to network with others in our certified consultant community, get mentored by them, continuing education, right? You got to constantly get better, learn more, get even, sharpen your tool a little bit. And that's an opportunity that we have and a resource that we have for you, and a variety of specializations. If you want to become the expert in your city at working with teams, we have a next level after you become certified where you can become a team expert. If you're all about individual performance, then your next step once you become certified is to join our performance specialty. Or if you're really passionate about working with kids and helping them, we have a youth specialization as well. And so these are all resources and these are all steps along the way on your path to success. All right. So other resources that we have for you as a certified consultant, we're going to give you 6 months of unlimited access to one of our certified consultants, to one of our internal consultants at Kolbe, right? Because we know the first couple of times you go and do this, you're going to be a little unsure. You're going to think to yourself, wait a minute, I know we talked about this in class, but we want to be there to help you launch your practice. And so if you're getting ready for a team meeting and you want to know how to structure your deck, get with us. We'll help you with that. If you have a one-on-one schedule, you don't know what you want to figure out what that outline should look like, get with us. We will help you with that. Again, we want to partner with you in your success. The next thing is marketing and sales tool. So digital resources, online ads, badges, those types of things. Product sales sheets. We have lots of products, services. We have reports, all of that stuff. You don't have to make up your own descriptions. We've already created that for you. Then we have, pre-written content, whether it's, a LinkedIn post or an ad or something like that. We've created that content for you. And we have case studies. If someone you're working with says, hey, show me how Kolbe impacted team performance, we have a case study for that. Show me how Kolbe reduced turnover. We have a case study for that. And we have case studies, podcasts. We have all of that as a part of our marketing and sales tools. Then we have an unlimited resource library. So this includes pre-built decks. You need to do a 1-hour webinar on Kolbe? We have a deck for that. You need to do an all-day session with Kolbe. We have a deck for that, and everywhere in between. And as I mentioned, we have internal resources to help you get ready for that session. Need some fun team exercises that are really engaging? We have a whole bunch of those. You need some coaching worksheets. You need to help, let's say you're an internal HR person and you want to help your leaders use Kolbe as a part of the annual review process. We have a worksheet for that. We have an outline for how you do that to make those conversations a little bit easier for the leaders that you work with. And we also have access to our unlimited learning library. So we have topics on working with teams, coaching individuals, how to sell more effectively, how to market, lots of topics so you can continue to improve, continue to get better. So again, those are some of the things that are going to help you become successful as a certified consultant. But I understand, right? I'm our VP of sales. So of course I'm going to say all of this amazing stuff that Kolbe can do for you, right? That's literally my job. And that's literally Toby's job as well. But don't just take our word for it. Some of our other certified consultants, folks that have been doing this for a while, have some of the same feedback, have some of the same reaction. So, right? Michael Roby, it changed his life and it changed his business. Deidre, she basically cannot imagine running her business without Kolbe after doing it for 10 plus years. Andrew Lawless booked an extra $100,000 of work in his first 4 months after becoming certified. Or Kari, who I mentioned earlier, right? She worked with 20 companies using Kolbe with them in her first 6 months. So if you're thinking, right, can Kolbe work in my business? Can it work with me? Yes, absolutely. Because we have experience with so many different models, with so many different folks in different applications of Kolbe, we've likely figured out exactly how to help you hit the ground running to get you on that path to success. And so now we're going to talk about next steps, right? What does this really look like from a practical perspective to become a Kolbe certified consultant? So the first thing is we call it decide and discover. If you have not taken your Kolbe A yet, that's your first step, right? You got to get these 4 colorful bars. You got to get those 4 numbers because that's going to tell you all about your natural strengths. So if you haven't done it yet, go to Kolbe.com, click that purple button in the upper right-hand corner. Once you've done that, we're going to give you a link in a second. Click on it, complete your online application for certification. Once you do that, then a member of our team is going to reach out to you and they're going to help you now begin to understand how you can integrate Kolbe into your business. Okay, done that. Now the next step is come to certification. So we have both in-person and online options for certification. In-person is 3 days, online is 4 days. The exact same content is covered. However, we stretch out the online to 4 days because we know staring at a screen like this for a whole day is hard. So we give you more breaks, we give you longer breaks, things like that. And our teaching style is mixed. So it's not somebody standing up in front of the room talking at you for 8 hours. Our instructors are going to be in front of you. Yes, they're going to, right? They're going to give you some information, but then they're going to say, all right, you two go work together on this, or the 5 of you go work together on this, or now let's play a game where we're all working together. And so varied learning styles, we can accommodate that so everyone leaves certification ready to hit the ground running. And then as soon as you get out, excuse me, you're then going to meet with your success partner, and we're going to help you build out a 1-year strategy, right? What does it look like to use Kolbe inside of your company for that first year? Now that you're doing that, you're going to start to grow and serve your clients, right? I'm using clients very loosely here. If you're an external person, you absolutely have clients. If you're an HR professional, an operations manager, whether you know it or not, you have clients as well, right? As leaders, Toby and I have clients. They're called the people that work on our teams, right? We also, right? I am one of Toby's clients. Toby is one of my clients. We have to work with each other. And so your colleagues, your teammates are your clients as well. And so as you start working with them, you're going to start delivering the Kolbe system, that 4-step process I talked about earlier. And you're going to want to start to engage with our community. Ask them for help, ask them for ideas, right? Because they're going to be able to help get you there even faster. And now if you've been doing that for a while, now you can start to master the theory, right? That's you're going to become, right, the expert. So we have a continuing education program. We have an annual conference called KolbeCon. It's in the Phoenix area at the end of October, early November every year. And so if you haven't been to Phoenix at the end of October or early November, just picture 80 degrees without a cloud in the sky. And if you're from somewhere up north, you can go swimming. That's what Phoenix is like at that time of year. So it's amazing. And then those of you that really want to become the specialized, become the expert in your area, we have specializations, right? Team specialist, performance, which is one-on-one or coaching. And then we have youth specialization as well. So you can continue to grow your practice, continue to be even more effective at helping those folks that you serve. All right, that's your path to success. I know we covered a lot of ground. And so I'm going to pause for a second, let you all hit me with those.
Does this work with brand new consultants, Eric?
Yes. So I mentioned earlier, right, that we have a structure and we figured out how it works. And I also mentioned that consultant handbook. That consultant handbook is literally a step-by-step guide. So we've essentially taken you through from the top of the funnel all the way to the bottom. So Toby and his team created an exercise to figure out who's your ideal client. Who can you be most effective at helping? Okay, great. Now that I know who I can help, they've then created resources to go out and get in front of those folks so they can then talk to you. Me and my team, we put together some resources that say, all right, someone's willing to talk to you. What the heck do you say? Right? So we have resources for that. Then we have resources that say, all right, I got somebody to talk to me and they're interested. How much do I charge them? We have a worksheet for that. So yeah, if you're brand new, you're just kicking off your practice, we absolutely can help you hit the ground running and start to get some clients.
Can you touch a little bit on the accuracy of Kolbe results and the validity? Do they change over time?
Yeah, great question. So we do what are called test, retest, reliability studies. Think of it very simply as test, retest, right? So we have people take it. At a point in the future, we have them take it again. We've done those at 2, 5, 10, and 20-year intervals. Over 90% of the time, we see no significant statistical change in the results. In plain English, what does that mean? Doesn't really change over time.
We have a question around staying certified after your initial certification.
Got it. Okay. So as I mentioned, right, once you come out of certification, you have access to our resource library for approximately 18 months. The reason I say approximately is we have a training calendar. Think of it kind of like a fiscal calendar, right? It runs every April to April. So if you get certified, you're basically good for the next 18-ish months until the next April. So like April of 2026 for right now. Starting in April 2026, between April 26 and April of 2027, you have to earn 7 CE credits. You can either do that by watching 7 webinars or by attending our conference in Phoenix. That then satisfies your CE requirements. Then also you need to continue your consultant membership, which gives you access to all of our resources, and that is $795 per year.
And we have another side note saying, hey, my husband's a pastor and this could work in churches. Have we seen that? And we absolutely have seen that. We do have internal coaches actually working with faith-based organizations here in Phoenix. And then I know around the country, right, Eric?
Yeah, I have a client. She works with the Methodist Church in the Southeast region. She's based in Florida. And so anytime a pastor needs some help, either one-on-one or that pastor needs some help with their team, they actually bring her in and she goes and works with them.
What about resources for families?
Yeah, so there are definitely resources for families. Let's take an adult couple as an example, right? So very simply, you take an A, you have your partner take a Kolbe A. We have something called Takes Two. Think of it somewhat like a communication guidance report. So what it's going to say is, hey, the next time you go to your spouse and you need to deliver a message, do this stuff. And oh, by the way, here's how your spouse plans for vacations. Here's how they think about doing household chores, that kind of stuff. And then your spouse gets the same kind of report on you. So that's for someone you're in a relationship with. I mentioned helping kids earlier. We have youth assessments. So somewhat like the Kolbe A, identify conative strengths, but it's geared towards kids. And so when they get the result, it's going to say, hey, when you're working on a book report, here's the best way to do it. So I've taken the youth assessment, even though I'm a grown-up, and it told me, hey, Eric, write the full book report first, then do the outline, and then do all the other stuff that your teacher's making you do, because that's how I work most effectively.
Can you maybe pull up your MO from the beginning slide and just do a quick interpretation of a Kolbe result and sort of what that result is telling us?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to pull up my result. So I'm a 5392. I'm going to give you the short version. Each of these colorful bars is how we take action or how we do stuff. The red one, Fact Finder, is all about gathering and sharing information. So as you think of the numbers, it's not that a 1 is better than a 10 or a 10 is better than a 1. We're just trying to figure out on that continuum, where do you fall? Okay, so red one, Fact Finder, gathering information. Blue one, follow through, systems and processes, and also bringing things to closure. Again, on a scale of 1 to 10. The green one, quick start, it's all about dealing with risk and uncertainty. Some of us do our best work in the unknown and we just go for it. Some of us push back and we minimize risk. Both of those are strengths. And then that last one, the yellow one called implementer, it's all about how we deal with space intangibles, the physical world around us. So for me, 5392, if you come to me and say, Eric, I need your help with this, I'm going to start by brainstorming a bunch of ideas. Hey, what if we try this? Ooh, let's try this other thing. Hey, let's go do this thing. Sometimes those ideas are great. Sometimes those ideas are terrible. But either way, I need to get them out of my head first. Then we can pick through the winners and the losers. Then I need the critical components, just enough information to be dangerous. If you bog me down in details, my eyes are going to glaze over. So just give me the critical components. I'm then going to adapt and change things on the fly as needed in order to get the job done. And then finally, I'm going to envision the solution in my head. I can see it without having to touch it, taste it, smell it. And look, as you give interpretations, you can go way deeper than that, but that was my, 45-second version of an interpretation. Any other burning questions out there for us, Toby?
I wanted to make sure I touched on Audrey's from earlier, saying that she uses Kolbe one-on-one with clients. And so maybe touch on some of the resources that are available to help clients maximize their strengths.
Yeah. So let's just say I'm coaching Toby as an example, right? So first thing is I need to know what Toby's strengths are. I need to have him take the Kolbe A. He's a 7.464. Just from that, I can then begin to understand his use of time, the things he's going to do, the things he's probably not going to do, how he's going to communicate. Then I can go a little bit deeper. If I now need to know how does Toby view his job, I'm going to have Toby take a Kolbe B. And I can do it. We have a report that does a comparison side by side with that. If I want to go even deeper, I'm going to have Toby's boss, our president, Amy Bruschi, do a Kolbe C as to what she expects from Toby's job. Then I'm going to do a three-way comparison. Toby, how Toby sees his job, how Toby's boss sees his job. We can create a report that identifies any of those gaps and gives him some tips and tricks on how to close those, how to lean more into his strengths. And then Toby's a leader, and so he has to work with other members of his team, get the rest of his team to do Kolbe A's, and we can create communication reports between the two of them. Hey, Toby, the next time you walk down to Logan's office, deliver the message like this, and don't do this stuff.
What about DISC versus Kolbe? Can you just touch on that quickly?
Yeah. Broadly speaking, measuring different parts of the person. DISC is in the affect, whereas Kolbe is in the conative part of the mind. So on DISC, I'm a high D, right? So I'm a hard driving, let's make it happen in your face kind of guy. And so I need a challenge. If Toby needs something from me, he needs to challenge me. Hey, Eric, I don't know if we can get this done. We are absolutely doing it if Toby says, I don't know if we can get this done, right? So that's how he gets me motivated and engaged. Now, Toby also knows once I'm engaged, I'm going to start spitballing. I'm going to start throwing out a bunch of ideas at him, and I'm just going to try stuff to see what happens. And as I'm trying stuff will work, stuff's not going to work. I'm going to keep adapting and changing as needed. And so really having both of those, that is really, really powerful because you get a deeper understanding of that person.
You alluded to it with some of the coaching conversation, but can you quickly touch on A versus B versus C?
Yeah. So 3 main indexes with Kolbe. The primary one where you're always going to start is the Kolbe A, right? How you naturally solve problems, how you do things. Then you have the Kolbe B. Kolbe B is how does that person see their job? And then we do a comparison. Then there's also the Kolbe C. Kolbe C is how does that person's boss view their job? And then you do a 3-way comparison. Person, how they view their job, how their boss views their job. In the perfect world, they are all 3 identical. I've looked at tens of thousands of these. Never once have all 3 of them been identical, which is great. That's now an opportunity for you to go and help that person close that gap, feel a little bit less pain, a little bit less stress.
And then can you just touch quickly on the pricing model? So how does purchasing index work once you're certified?
Yeah. So once you're certified, think of it like you purchase the indexes or the product from us. We then do not dictate pricing to you. So retail cost of a Kolbe A is $55. If you want to charge your clients $55, great. We have volume discounts available where you can lower that price. If you want to lower the price to your clients, great, you can do that. We have some clients who they charge a couple $100 for a Kolbe A. Great, you can do that as well. Your pricing is really up to you. If you need some help, some guidance, we can absolutely work with you on that though.
And then we also have other, you touched on bulk discounting, but we also have